So now I'd like to take a look at that worksheet that's titled Section 2.3 In-Class Practice. And I want to do some examples of graphical and numerical derivatives that make use of the product rule and quotient rule. We're not going to do the entire sheet, but for starters, I'd like you to take a look at 57 at the very top. Suppose that f of x equals 1, f prime, not f of x equals, I'm sorry, f of 5 equals 1, f prime of 5 equals 6, g of 5 equals negative 3, g prime of 5 equals 2, and I want to find the derivative of the product of f times g at 5, the derivative of the quotient of f over g of 5, and so on. Well, here's what I'm going to do. What's the derivative of f times g? Well, I think that's first times derivative of the second plus second times derivative of the first. I'm going to get f of 5 times g prime of 5 plus g of 5 times f prime of 5. First times derivative of the second plus second times derivative of the first. I'm really just writing out the quotient, the product rule with my specific value plugged in there. Well, now, all we need to do is pull these values out of the information we were given. F of 5 is 1, g prime of 5 is 2, make sure you're pulling g prime of 5 and not g of 5, plus g of 5, okay, that's negative 3, times f prime of 5, that's 6. You're going to get 2 minus 18, and your derivative, the slope of f times g, that function at x equals 5, is going to end up being negative 16. In letter B, f over g prime of 5, well, that's quotient rule. Take a moment, the video is going to pause, and write out the quotient rule with 5 where the x would normally be. So this is, let's see, low, d high, minus high, d low, draw a line, and square below. Hopefully that's the formula you wrote out. I want you to take a moment, go plug in your specific numbers, and see what you can get for your final derivative of this. Okay, g of 5 is negative 3, f prime of 5 is 6, minus, okay, f of 5 is 1, g prime of 5 is 2. This is all over g of 5, that's negative 3 in parentheses squared. I really don't know why I did parentheses and brackets, whatever. Negative 18 minus 2 over negative 3 squared is 9. I think this is negative 20 ninths. How about you try letter C on your own? See if you can work through the whole thing. So first of all, low, f of 5, d high is g prime of 5, minus high, g of 5, d low is f prime of 5. Draw the line and square below. This is over f of 5 squared. Okay, so f of 5 is 1, g prime of 5 is 2, minus g of 5 is negative 3, f prime of 5 is 6, all over f of 5, that's 1 squared. This is looking like 2 plus 18 over 1. I am thinking 20 over there. But that's the basic idea with numerical derivatives. I think that's really all I want to do with that for right now. But let's move on to the bottom. 81 and 82. I have two functions, p of x, which is f of x times g of x, and q of x, which is f of x over g of x, p for product, q for quotient. And then some graphs where I'm going to get information from. I want to start with 81a. I want to find the derivative of p at 1. I'm going to start by just writing out my product rule in general. P prime of x is going to equal first f of x times derivative of the second g prime of x plus second g of x times derivative of the first f prime of x. And I'll go fill in my numbers here. P prime of 1 is f of 1 g prime of 1 plus g of 1 f prime of 1. Take a moment, make sure you get that copied down. Now, I need to just pick out these values from the graph. I'm dealing with 81, so this graph over here. F of 1, well, f of 1 really just means, let's look at the y value on the f function when x equals 1. F of 1 looks like 6 to me. G prime of 1. Okay, so think about this for a moment. I have the g function. How would I figure out g prime, the derivative of g, when x equals 1? Any thoughts? Remember that the derivative is the slope. I can find the slope of this segment when x equals 1. I think the slope over there is looking like, let's see, down 1 over 2, I'm thinking negative 1/2. Plus, g of 1 is the y value on the g function. F prime of 1 is the slope on the f function. What do you think? What's g of 1? G of 1, I think, is going to be, looks like 4, I believe. And then f prime of 1, okay, your turn again. What's f prime of 1? The slope on the f function when x equals 1, I think that slope is positive 1. So it's going to look like that. Negative 3, whoops, hold on, not plus 1, times 1. Negative 3 plus 4, we're getting 1 over there. Let's go do the same with the quotient rule. Letter B. Take a moment, write out your formula for q prime of x, and then just plug the 4 into there to get the formula with just the 4 filled in. Then we'll go and find all the pieces that we need. Okay, so q prime of x equals low. G of x d high is f prime of x, minus high f of x d low is g prime of x. Draw the line and square below. This is all over g of x in parentheses squared. I'm going to go plug in my 4. Q prime of 4 equals g of 4, f prime of 4, minus f of 4, g prime of 4, all over g of 4 squared. Okay, now you're going to start telling me things. I need you to tell me what g of 4 is, what f prime of 4 is, what f of 4 is, what g prime of 4 is. See if you can figure those out, and you'll fill these answers in an Edpuzzle once you're ready. G of 4. Still looking at the same graphs over here. G of 4, the y value on the g function when x equals 4, I think that's 3. F prime of 4, the slope of the f function when x equals 4, I think the slope is negative 1. Minus f of 4, the y value on the f function is going to be 7. G prime of 4, the slope of the g function when x equals 4, well, that's a horizontal segment. We're going to get 0. Draw the line square below. This is still over that g of 4 that I already got, over 3 squared. You're going to get negative 3 minus 7 over 9. You're going to get negative 10 ninths. I want you to try 82A, then we'll look at it, and B. Try 82A, and Edpuzzle's going to ask you for an answer. Okay, and before we do this, I think I need a little more space, so I'm going to, let's see. No, how about I do this? E to A. You should have started from saying P prime of x equals f of x, g prime of x, plus g of x, f prime of x. P prime of 4 is f of 4, g prime of 4, plus g of 4, f prime of 4. F of 4, okay, y value on the f function when x equals 4, that looks like 8. G prime of 4, slope of the g function when x equals 4, that looks like up 1 over 2, 1/2, plus g of 4. Okay, here's the g function, g of 4. Oh, wait a minute. I think I got that wrong. You're going to pretend you weren't watching that. We're going to try again. F of 4, the f function is this one over here. F of 4 is 1. G prime of 4 is this one over here. What's the slope of this? Well, even though it's curved, that's okay. It's at the top, horizontal tangent, that slope is 0. Plus g of 4. Okay, that looks like 8. And f prime of 4, slope over here is going to be 1/2. You should have sent in, hopefully, 4 for your slope. You go do B and send in the answer for that one. Maybe in the interest of time, I'll just go straight to Q prime of 7. Low, D high, minus high, D low, draw the line, and square below. Okay, so g of 7, let me make sure I get the function right this time. G of 7 is this one over here. I think g of 7 is 4. F prime of 7, the slope of the f function when x equals 7, I think that slope is 2. So 4 times 2 minus, let me just make sure, I think that's right. Yep, that's good. Minus f of 7. Okay, we're going to get a 4 over there. And g prime of 7, here's my g function. I think our slope is -1, so times -1. All over g of 7, that is still 4 squared. We've got, why don't I come down here? We've got 8 plus 4 over 16, 12/16. Don't tell me that, though. Tell me 3/4.